So I just want to read this poem. This is a poem that every Aboriginal person can relate to, every minority person can relate to, and anyone who's ever been through any trauma and suffering because of who they are as a person can relate to. All around me there is sadness within the air. The spirits of our old people, they can't understand why there is still so much suffering and despair, crossing from country to country right across the land. Our culture is so beautiful, so powerful and so strong. Our people are so beautiful, but they're told that they're wrong. Our life and way of living, they try to take away, but after 200 years of heartache, we still remain. Our culture will never die as we continue to strive to make this life move forward in this age and to try and stop the government taking our livelihood away as we are ignored and humiliated. And we feel so much sadness at the way we are hated. Why do they do this? Why don't they stop? Because we will never give up and we will never lay and rot. To wither away like a flower would be to give up, and we will never do this because our people are too tough. And yes, we do have those who have walked away, but our people need to remember that there are those of us who stay. And we will never ever give in and let them take us all again, because it's not something we were born to do, give up, and it's not something we were born to do. We have to love. We have to continue to keep our culture alive, and our spirituality is something that will never die. Try as they might, we will continue to fight, and within our hearts our spirits will remain, and as proud people we will have our land again. We will be here until the end of our days, and we will be here when our spirits move on and they're born the same, but in a different vessel to walk on our lands and continue the fight with all our womans and our mans. And those who wish to walk by our side, yous will always be welcome by our fire. And I thank you very much for that. But it was two Aboriginal drivers there and a white man in the back of the van. We know that there would have been justice straight away, because what would have happened? There would have been community outrage, right? The government would have been outraged. Oh my God, these two black people killed a white man. Oh my God, they need to go to jail. You know what I mean? I am so sick and tired of this government. I'm sick of every single government since colonisation. We love the Greens because they've been right there with us. And I'll tell you right now, right, we will never stop. Justice is coming for Mr. Ward. So I tell you now, Colin Barnett, you want to watch out for deaths in custody, and Christian Porter, because we're going to keep coming and you're never going to push us back. And I can tell you that right now, at deaths in custody, we will never stop. We are all committed. We thank you for showing your support, okay? And just before I was going to come up today, this lady gave me something that was just really interesting. It says Commonwealth of Australia Aborigines Protection Act 1909 to 1943, Section 18C, General Certificate of Exemption. So this document, right, gives a person, an Aboriginal person, the right to leave the reservation or mission at which they live to go to work. And additional benefits include to walk freely through the town without being arrested, but curfews apply, to enter a shop or hotel, but you may not be served. It's at the proprietor's discretion. Special conditions. You're prohibited from speaking in native language. You're prohibited from engaging in dance, rituals and native customs. You're prohibited from associating with fellow Indigenous people, including family. You must assimilate into the wider community. And if all conditions are met with and satisfactorily upheld, you may be also eligible to live in town unsupervised. Oh my God, what a privilege to hold something like this back then, eh? Eh, what a privilege, you know? This government, I tell you now, it's the Dog Act. Yeah, what was it, 1947, I know? 1947 Dog Act. And you know what? You go and have a look at the Dog Act, right? Because we still live under that Dog Act, and we still come under that Dog Act. And when you stand there and you have a look at it, you feel the same disgust that we have as Aboriginal people. Because you know what? Like Daisy said, we are all human. Right? We all have hearts and lungs and organs that keep us going. The only difference with us is we have our connection to the land that can never ever be bought. We're not capitalists. We don't want to develop anything. We are not inferior. We are the superior people on this country, and I don't care what anyone says. We are royalty. We We are kings and queens, and we are the oldest living culture on the face of this holy fire earth. Right? And you need to remember that in Parliament, because you watch, because we're coming for you. And don't ever forget death in custody, because we're never going to stop. Thank you.
My spirit, the land is my law. The industrial savages keep the oppressed so poor. Resistance will break.
Justice! What do we want? Now! What do we want? Justice!